Welcome into WagerTalk TV. We're talking a key Pac-12 South matchup here. We got Arizona State at Utah. I'm joined by Marco in Vegas on Twitter, Marco D'Angelo, and Ralph Michaels from WagerTalk.com on Twitter at CalSportsLV. Guys, we got Arizona State, Utah. The Utes laying -13 here in Salt Lake, total of 45. Marco, starting off with you. Two good coaches here. How you looking to bet it?
Absolutely two good coaches, but full disclosure, I'll start here. I was on the wrong side of an Arizona State game last week. I was on Washington State big, and it was a track meet game. And the thing about that game is Arizona State generally plays their games at night. Last week's game was in the daytime, and it was hot, and it was a tough game up and down the field, both teams, Washington State and Arizona State. The Arizona State defense was on the field for 76 plays. 66 of them were pass plays from Washington State. I look at this one, and I think after playing Washington State, which I determine, to me, I look at them as more of a finesse team, you know, with their passing game and everything else. Not much of a defensive wall there. Now they're going to be facing a very physical Utah team. You want to talk about contrast of styles between the two. I think it's going to be a tough spot for them. I've loved this Utah team from day one in the Pac-12. Washington was my pick to win the Pac-12. Utah was my second pick for the Pac-12. I don't think Arizona State's going to have success offensively against this Utah defense.
I don't see it either, Ralph. I think they're going to have a tough time offensively. And you bring up the fact of your picks is to win the Pac-12. I mean, last year it came down to what? Really a call that decided the Pac-12 championship. Could happen again this year. But, Ralph, talking about this game, Arizona State, Utah, we are seeing a number of -13, near 2 touchdowns. How does that affect it?
Well, you know, you look at that total and you have a defensive dog in Arizona State if you want them. But I look at the Utah side, and they've held 5 of their 6 foes to season lows on offense. So if the defense does that again, Arizona State's season low was 216 yards at Michigan State. They're going to be in trouble. Tyler Huntley, of course, has a little chip on his shoulder. Or should I say a chip on his collarbone? He broke his collarbone last year against this team, so he certainly remembers getting hurt. Utah 7-1 at home with conference revenge. They have revenge from last year. But I break it down and I say this. Arizona State only scored 7 points at Michigan State to win that game. The D only allowed, they scored 14 points. They held Michigan State to 7. The D held Colorado to 7 points. California, to 7 points on the road. I want to fade the true freshman Jaden Daniels. He did well at home, got him the win, got him to come back behind. But if you look at the halftime scores for ASU this year, they led Kent State 10-0. They led Sacramento State 3-0. They led Michigan 3-0. They led tied against Cal 7-7, tied against Washington State 17-7. The freshman, the true freshman, has never had adversity where he's been behind at half. If I'm not going to play this game early, but if he's down at halftime, I expect him to really struggle having to pass the second half. And that's totally different than in any situation he's been in this year. So I am going to look to live bet Utah when Utah has the lead, and I'm going to extend that lead and bet him in the second half, betting against the true Frosh. If Arizona State has the lead, then boom, they can play the offense they want, the defense can play what they want, and I'll have no action on the game.
The California game that you mentioned with Arizona State and the defense playing well, if you remember, though, in that game, the Cal quarterback got hurt
knocked out.
on that Friday night game. And the one thing that makes me like Utah is Utah's always had a good defense. That's been their trademark. You had to win games with Utah in the past, 17-7 and so forth, and ride the defense. They have an offense this year. This is a team that is I like to refer to them as 200 club teams, where they run and pass for 200 yards. When you have that kind of balance on offense, it makes it so much tougher for a defense to prepare for, because which strength are you going to try to take away? If you try to take away the pass, they're going to run the football down your throat. If you try to come up and cheat on the run, they can beat you with the pass. That's why offensive balance is so important whenever you're handicapping the games. And when you got the guys that can go 200 yards either way, that's a big leg up in your handicapping.
Let's remember, Utah got to where they were last year in the Pac-12 championship without Huntley and without Moss. Both of those guys missed the last 5 games. Moss doesn't get enough credit. Moss is a top 3 running back in the league. I mean, Wisconsin's running back gets all the credit in the world. Utah's Utah in the Pac-12. Moss is as good as any running back. Completely agree with that thought.
Yeah, you talk about quarterback and running back combos.
Yes.
It's up there with a good defense. Absolutely. Marco and Ralph, just quick question here. You know, quarterback position, not necessarily playing quarterback in the NFL, but do you think Tyler Huntley makes an NFL roster as an athlete?
I'm never good at judging that, you know, because you know, you see quarterbacks that aren't good in college that all of a sudden they can make the throw, and once they're tutored to do it. So I have not studied Huntley enough to know, can he make that 20-yard out pass on a line and know what the progressions are. So I don't have an answer with that one way or the other.
Okay. I just think that he could have a future playing maybe special teams, something like that. He's that type of athlete in terms of mobility at the quarterback position.
Like, what's his name for the Saints?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That same type of profile there. Guys, great video. This is going to be a fun one to watch on Saturday, 3 o'clock p.m. Pacific, Arizona State, Utah, guys. Remember, WagerTalk TV users get $25 in wager bucks added to your account after your first purchase at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com.